It was a muggy morning in the city, and the public bus was already packed as it made its way through its usual route. Veronica, a young pregnant woman in her second trimester, climbed aboard carrying a small bag of groceries. Beads of sweat glistened on her forehead as she carefully balanced herself, her hands instinctively cradling her growing belly. Veronica had been up since dawn, juggling errands and a part-time job as a seamstress. Her life wasn't easy, but she faced every challenge with quiet determination. As the bus swayed forward, she scanned the crowded seats, her eyes landing on a woman in her mid-30s sitting by the window. The woman, Jenna, exuded an aura of wealth and self-importance. Her designer clothes, perfectly styled hair, and oversized sunglasses screamed affluence. Beside her, the seat was occupied by an expensive leather handbag, as if the bag deserved the same comfort as its owner. Summoning her courage, Veronica approached with a polite smile. "Excuse me, ma'am," she said, her voice soft but clear. "May I sit here?" Jenna didn't even look up from her phone. With a dismissive wave of her manicured hand, she said, "I don't think so. There's plenty of room to stand. And besides, your condition isn't my problem." The bus fell silent, passengers glancing awkwardly at each other. Veronica flushed with embarrassment but remained calm. She stepped back, clutching the pole for support, her tired legs trembling under the weight of her pregnancy. Jenna, oblivious to the tension her comment caused, continued scrolling through social media. Her indifference sent a ripple of disapproval through the bus, though no one else spoke up. As the bus jostled through the crowded streets, Veronica struggled to maintain her balance. The groceries in her bag dug into her arm, and her legs felt like they might give out at any moment. Just as she adjusted her grip on the pole, a kind voice broke through the silence. "Excuse me, ma'am," said a man in his late 20s. He stood and gestured toward his seat. "Please take my seat. You shouldn't have to stand." Veronica looked up to see Ethan, a clean-cut man with a warm smile and kind eyes. His business attire suggested he was on his way to work, but his demeanor was anything but hurried. Relieved and grateful, Veronica accepted his offer. "Thank you so much," she said as she sank into the seat. Ethan nodded. "It's the least I can do. Congratulations, by the way," he added, gesturing to her belly. Veronica smiled. "Thank you. It's been a long day already, but kindness like yours makes it a little easier." The exchange didn't go unnoticed. Jenna, seated nearby, rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath, "Some people just can't handle a little discomfort." Ethan glanced her way, his brow furrowed. "Sometimes it's not about discomfort," he said, his voice firm but calm. "It's about doing the right thing." Jenna stiffened, clearly irritated. She turned her attention back to her phone, dismissing the conversation. The bus reached Veronica's stop, and she prepared to get off. Before leaving, she turned to Ethan. "Thank you again for your kindness. It means a lot." Ethan smiled. "Take care, and good luck with everything." Veronica exited the bus, her spirits slightly lifted despite the earlier encounter. Jenna, however, remained indifferent, oblivious to the ripples of judgment she had created. As the bus continued its journey, Jenna began to notice something strange. The passengers around her seemed to be whispering, their eyes occasionally darting in her direction. Feeling the weight of their stares, Jenna decided to brush it off. People are just too sensitive these days, she thought. But karma had its own plans. As the bus came to a screeching halt at a traffic light, Jenna's oversized handbag slid off the seat and tumbled to the floor, its contents scattering everywhere. Lipstick, keys, loose cash, and even a small bottle of perfume rolled under the seats. Passengers watched as Jenna huffed and crouched down to retrieve her belongings, her frustration evident. To her surprise, a hand reached down to help her. It was Ethan. "Here, let me help," he said, handing her a compact mirror and a tube of lipstick. Jenna hesitated, her pride warring with her gratitude. Thanks," she muttered, stuffing the items back into her bag. As Jenna settled back into her seat, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She glanced at Ethan, who was now engrossed in his phone, and wondered why he had bothered to help her after her earlier behavior. For the first time in a long while, Jenna felt a flicker of doubt about her actions. Though she quickly pushed it aside, it was the beginning of a lesson she didn't yet realize she needed to learn. The rest of Jenna's day unfolded like a series of unfortunate events. As the bus reached her stop, she stepped out into the drizzle, her expensive heels slipping slightly on the slick pavement. Muttering under her breath about the inconvenience, she made her way to her office building. Inside, she was greeted by her assistant, Clara, who looked visibly nervous. "Good morning, Miss Jenna. Mr. Rollins wants to see you in his office as soon as you get in." Jenna sighed, already irritated. Mr. Rollins was the company's CEO, a no-nonsense man who didn't tolerate mistakes. "What now?" she snapped, brushing past Clara and heading toward her boss's office. When she entered, Mr. Rollins didn't even look up from his papers. "Jenna," he said, his tone cold, "I reviewed the presentation you sent last night. It was subpar, to say the least. Our client rejected it outright." Jenna froze, her usual confidence faltering. "Rejected? But I spent hours on that proposal." "It's not about the hours you spent," Mr. Rollins interrupted. "It's about the results. If you can't deliver, we'll find someone who can. Fix it by tomorrow, or I'll assign it to someone else." Flustered and humiliated, Jenna left his office, clutching her tablet tightly. Her day had barely started, and it was already unraveling. Later that afternoon, Jenna's frustration reached a boiling point when her assistant accidentally spilled coffee on her desk. The stack of papers she had been reviewing was now stained and illegible. "Are you serious, Clara?" Jenna snapped, glaring at the trembling assistant. "Can't you do anything right?" "I am so sorry, Miss Jenna," Clara stammered, frantically trying to clean up the mess. Jenna didn't bother hiding her disdain as she stormed out of her office to grab a fresh cup of coffee. She decided to step out of the building for a breather, needing a break from the chaos. As she walked down the street, the drizzle from earlier had turned into a steady rain. Jenna pulled out her umbrella, grumbling about the weather, when she spotted a familiar face across the street. It was Veronica, standing under the awning of a small bakery. She was holding a steaming cup of coffee in one hand and balancing a bag of baked goods in the other. Despite the rain, Veronica's smile was radiant as she chatted with the bakery owner. Jenna paused, watching her from a distance. The sight of the pregnant woman brought back the memory of their encounter on the bus. Though Jenna had tried to forget it, the look of quiet dignity on Veronica's face that day lingered in her mind. Before Jenna could dwell on it, a car sped by, splashing water from a puddle onto her designer pants. She gasped in horror, looking down at her soaked outfit. Across the street, Veronica glanced in her direction, her expression filled with concern. "Are you okay?" Veronica called out, crossing the street with careful steps. Jenna, still fuming, tried to brush her off. "I'm fine, just some bad luck." Veronica handed her a napkin from her bakery bag. "Here, this might help. The rain can be relentless sometimes." Jenna hesitated, feeling an unfamiliar mix of embarrassment and gratitude. She accepted the napkin, mumbling a quiet thanks. "You're welcome," Veronica said warmly. "I think we've met before, haven't we? On the bus the other day?" Jenna stiffened, remembering how she had dismissed Veronica so rudely. "Oh, yeah, I think so," she said, avoiding eye contact. Veronica didn't seem to hold any grudges. "Well, it's nice to see you again. If you're heading somewhere nearby, would you like a fresh coffee? I just came from the bakery, and their lattes are amazing." Jenna blinked, taken aback by Veronica's kindness. This was the same woman she had dismissed without a second thought, yet here she was, offering to help. For reasons she couldn't quite explain, Jenna nodded. "Sure, why not?" The two women walked to the bakery together, Veronica chatting about how she loved their pastries and how the owner always gave her a discount. Because she was a regular, Jenna found herself listening intently, her usual arrogance tempered by the warmth in Veronica's voice. As they sat down with their coffees, Jenna noticed something about Veronica that she hadn't seen before. A quiet strength and resilience that seemed to shine through her every word. By the time they parted ways, Jenna was left with a strange feeling, a mix of guilt and admiration. For the first time in a long while, she found herself questioning her own actions. Back at her office, Jenna couldn't focus. The unexpected encounter with Veronica lingered in her mind, like an itch she couldn't scratch. Veronica's warmth and kindness had thrown Jenna off balance, especially considering how dismissive she'd been during their first meeting. Jenna stared blankly at her computer screen, the rejected client proposal glaring back at her. Her usual confidence felt shaken, replaced by a nagging sense of self-doubt. "Why can't I just brush this off?" she muttered to herself. Her assistant Clara peeked in nervously. "Ms. Jenna, I printed out the documents you requested." Jenna nodded curtly, not looking up. "Leave them on my desk." Clara hesitated for a moment. "Is everything okay, ma'am?" Jenna looked up sharply, her usual sharp retort faltering. "I'm fine, Clara," she said, though her tone lacked its usual edge. As the day dragged on, Jenna found herself replaying Veronica's words and actions. Despite her own shortcomings, Veronica had shown her kindness without expecting anything in return. It was a stark contrast to the cold, transactional relationships Jenna was used to. The next morning, Jenna boarded the bus with a rare sense of trepidation. She scanned the seats, half hoping and half dreading to see Veronica again. To her relief, or perhaps disappointment, Veronica wasn't there. Jenna sat near the back, her thoughts racing. Around her, passengers chatted quietly or stared at their phones. She noticed an elderly man struggling to carry a heavy bag as he made his way toward the seats. Without thinking, Jenna stood up and gestured toward her seat. "Here, you can sit here," she said, her voice uncharacteristically soft. The man looked surprised but grateful. "Thank you, young lady," he said as he sat down. Jenna felt a strange sense of satisfaction as she stood, holding the pole for support. It was a small gesture, but it made her feel different, lighter, somehow. When she arrived at work, her assistant Clara greeted her with the usual nervous energy. "Good morning, Miss Jenna. I've scheduled your meetings for today." "Thanks, Clara," Jenna said, pausing for a moment. "And I'm sorry about yesterday. I shouldn't have snapped at you." Clara's eyes widened in surprise. "Oh, it's okay, ma'am. Thank you." Jenna nodded and walked to her office, feeling a small sense of pride. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Later that week, Jenna decided to visit the bakery, where she had seen Veronica. She wasn't entirely sure why, perhaps out of guilt, or maybe curiosity. As she entered, the warm smell of freshly baked bread greeted her. To her surprise, Veronica was there, seated at a small table with a cup of tea and a notebook. She looked up and smiled when she saw Jenna. "Jenna, what a surprise. Come, join me," Veronica said, gesturing to the chair opposite her. Jenna hesitated before sitting down. "I was in the area and thought I'd stop by," she said, trying to sound casual. Veronica's smile didn't falter. "I'm glad you did. How's everything going?" For reasons Jenna couldn't explain, she found herself opening up. "It's been a challenging week," she admitted. Veronica nodded, her expression empathetic. "Life has a way of throwing curveballs, doesn't it? But sometimes, those challenges help us grow." Jenna studied Veronica, marveling at her resilience. Despite her own hardships, Veronica exuded a sense of peace and strength that Jenna envied. As they chatted, Jenna learned more about Veronica's life. She discovered that Veronica had been a teacher before her pregnancy and was now working part-time to make ends meet. Despite her struggles, Veronica spoke with optimism about her future and her child's. By the time Jenna left the bakery, she felt a mix of emotions: admiration for Veronica, guilt for her past behavior, and a strange desire to be better. As she walked back to her car, Jenna realized something profound. Kindness wasn't a weakness. It was a strength, and one she wanted to cultivate in herself. The following week, Jenna found herself thinking more about Veronica. The memory of her warm smile and the quiet wisdom in her words lingered in Jenna's mind, challenging her usual outlook on life. As Jenna rode the bus to work one morning, she noticed a young mother struggling with her toddler. The little boy was crying loudly, drawing annoyed glances from other passengers. Jenna's usual reaction would have been to roll her eyes and ignore the scene, but this time, she felt a pang of empathy. She hesitated, then leaned over. "Do you need some help?" she asked the young mother. The woman looked surprised but nodded gratefully. "Thank you. He's just tired and hungry." Jenna reached into her bag and pulled out a granola bar she had packed earlier. "Here, maybe this will help." The boy's tears subsided as his mother handed him the snack, and Jenna felt an unexpected sense of satisfaction. The other passengers seemed to relax, and the young mother gave Jenna a heartfelt smile. For the first time in a long while, Jenna felt like she had made a small difference in someone's day. That evening, Jenna decided to visit the bakery again. She wasn't sure if Veronica would be there, but something drew her to the cozy little shop. As luck would have it, Veronica was seated at her usual table, sipping tea and flipping through a book. "Jenna," Veronica greeted her warmly. "It's good to see you again." Jenna smiled as she sat down. "I guess I've become a regular here," she said lightly. As they talked, Jenna found herself opening up even more about her life. She told Veronica about her stressful job, the constant pressure to perform, and the loneliness she often felt despite her outward success. Veronica listened intently, her expression thoughtful. "You know," she said gently, "sometimes we get so caught up in what we think is important, status, success, material things, that we forget what truly matters. For me, it's my baby. She gives me strength even when things are tough." Jenna nodded, feeling a lump form in her throat. Veronica's words resonated deeply with her. She realized how much she had neglected her own happiness in her pursuit of perfection. Before they parted ways, Veronica reached across the table and squeezed Jenna's hand. "You're stronger than you think, Jenna. Don't be afraid to let kindness guide you." Jenna left the bakery that night with a heavy heart, but also a newfound sense of purpose. Over the next few days, Jenna began to make small changes in her life. At work, she tried to be more patient with her colleagues, especially Clara. She even apologized to Clara for her past outbursts, leaving her assistant visibly stunned but appreciative. "Thank you, Ms. Jenna," Clara said shyly. "It means a lot." Jenna also found herself being more mindful in her interactions with others. She started offering her seat to elderly passengers on the bus and made an effort to smile at people instead of scowling. One afternoon, as Jenna was leaving work, she spotted Veronica walking down the street. She was carrying a grocery bag and looked tired but determined. Jenna honked her car horn and pulled over. "Veronica, do you need a ride?" Veronica looked surprised but grateful. "Oh, Jenna, you don't have to." "I insist," Jenna said with a smile. As they drove, Veronica shared more about her plans for the future. She was saving up to start her own small tutoring business, where she could work from home and still care for her baby. "That's amazing," Jenna said sincerely. "If you need any help, let me know. I'd love to support you." Veronica beamed, her gratitude evident. "Thank you, Jenna. That means so much." As Jenna dropped Veronica off at her modest apartment, she couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. For the first time in years, she felt like she was truly living, not just existing. As she drove away, Jenna reflected on how much she had changed in such a short time. Veronica had not only inspired her to be kinder, but also reminded her of the power of human connection. Jenna resolved to continue on this path, knowing that kindness could transform not just her own life, but also the lives of those around her. Jenna's life continued to change as she embraced kindness and compassion. Her colleagues at work began to notice the shift in her demeanor. No longer the intimidating boss who barked orders, Jenna now offered guidance and encouragement. Even Clara, her timid assistant, began to come out of her shell. "Clara," Jenna said one afternoon as she reviewed a project, "this presentation is excellent. You've really outdone yourself." Clara blushed, clearly unaccustomed to praise. Thank you, Miss Jenna. That means a lot. Please, call me Jenna, she replied with a smile. The change in Jenna didn't go unnoticed by her superiors either. During a meeting with the company's senior partners, one of them remarked, "Jenna, your team's performance has improved significantly. What's your secret?" Jenna hesitated for a moment before replying, "I realize that people thrive when they feel valued and supported. It's not just about results. It's about building trust and collaboration." Her words earned nods of approval, and Jenna felt a sense of pride that wasn't tied to her usual metrics of success. Meanwhile, Veronica faced her own set of challenges. Her tutoring business was gaining traction, but balancing work and caring for her baby proved difficult. One evening, as she prepared for an online session with a student, her baby began to cry. Veronica rocked the baby gently, whispering soothing words, but the crying persisted. Exhausted, she fought back tears. Just then, there was a knock at her door. Surprised, Veronica opened it to find Jenna standing there with a bag of takeout and a warm smile. "I thought you might need a break," Jenna said, stepping inside. Veronica's eyes filled with tears. "Jenna, you didn't have to." "I wanted to," Jenna replied, setting the food on the table. "Now, go handle your tutoring session. I'll watch the baby." Veronica hesitated, but eventually nodded. "Thank you, Jenna. I don't know what I'd do without you." As Veronica conducted her session, Jenna sat with the baby, gently rocking the child until she fell asleep. Jenna marveled at how much peace the simple act of helping brought her. When Veronica finished her session, she joined Jenna on the couch. "You've been such a blessing in my life," Veronica said sincerely. Jenna smiled, her heart full. "You've been a blessing in mine too, Veronica. You've taught me more than you know." Jenna and Veronica's friendship deepened, and together, they began brainstorming ways to grow Veronica's tutoring business. Jenna used her professional skills to help Veronica design a website and create marketing materials. "You have a gift for teaching, Veronica," Jenna said as they worked. "People need to see that." Veronica smiled, her confidence growing. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, Jenna." One evening, as they worked late into the night, Jenna shared a piece of her own story. "I used to think that success was all that mattered," she admitted. "I sacrificed relationships and happiness to climb the corporate ladder. But meeting you made me realize how empty my life had become." Veronica reached over and squeezed Jenna's hand. "You've come so far, Jenna, and you're making a real difference, not just in my life but in the lives of everyone around you." As they continued to work together, Jenna felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just helping Veronica build a business. She was also rediscovering her own humanity. By the end of the chapter, Jenna and Veronica had become more than friends. They were partners in creating a brighter future for themselves and those around them. With Jenna's guidance, Veronica's tutoring business started gaining attention. The website Jenna had designed was simple yet elegant, showcasing Veronica's teaching philosophy and highlighting testimonials from satisfied clients. Veronica's virtual learning quickly became a name parents trusted. Her schedule filled up rapidly, and she began receiving inquiries from schools looking for part-time instructors. "I can't believe this is happening," Veronica said one afternoon as she and Jenna celebrated with coffee. "It feels like a dream." Jenna smiled warmly. "It's happening because of your hard work, Veronica. You've always had the talent. You just needed the world to see it." Meanwhile, Jenna's own transformation continued. At work, her more collaborative approach had fostered a positive team environment. Her boss even commended her during a company-wide meeting. "You've set a new standard for leadership, Jenna," her manager said. The praise felt good, but Jenna's greatest satisfaction came from her friendship with Veronica and the impact they were making together. Just as things seemed to be going smoothly, Veronica faced an unexpected challenge. A disgruntled former client left a scathing review online, claiming Veronica's teaching methods were ineffective. Veronica was devastated. "I've worked so hard, Jenna. What if this ruins everything?" Jenna put an arm around her friend. "One bad review won't define you, Veronica. Let's handle this together." They drafted a professional yet heartfelt response, addressing the concerns and inviting the client to discuss the matter further. Jenna also encouraged Veronica to reach out to her other clients for positive testimonials to balance the negativity. Within days, Veronica's other clients flooded her website with glowing reviews, praising her patience, creativity, and dedication. "Your community believes in you, Veronica," Jenna said, showing her the responses. "Don't let one person's opinion shake your confidence." Veronica nodded, her resolve strengthening. "Thank you, Jenna. I don't know what I'd do without you." One evening, as Jenna was helping Veronica finalize a partnership deal with a local school, Veronica paused and looked at her friend. "You've given me so much, Jenna," Veronica said, "but I feel like I've never really asked. Are you happy?" Jenna was taken aback by the question. She thought about her life before meeting Veronica. The endless cycle of work, the superficial relationships, the constant striving for perfection. Then she thought about now. The joy of helping a friend, the satisfaction of making a difference, the warmth of human connection. "I think," Jenna said slowly, "I'm finally starting to understand what happiness means. It's not about what I achieve or what I own. It's about the relationships I build and the lives I touch." Veronica smiled. "You've touched my life in ways I can't even describe, Jenna. I hope you know how special you are." Tears welled up in Jenna's eyes. "You've done the same for me, Veronica. You've shown me what it means to be truly human." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of Veronica's baby cooing from the other room. Jenna laughed and stood. "Let me check on her," she said, walking over to pick up the little one. As she held the baby in her arms, Jenna felt an overwhelming sense of peace. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. As Veronica's tutoring business continued to flourish, a new opportunity presented itself. A prestigious educational foundation contacted her, impressed by her innovative teaching methods and glowing reviews. They invited her to speak at a local conference on empowering single parents through education. Veronica was both excited and nervous. "I've never done anything like this before, Jenna. What if I mess up?" Jenna smiled reassuringly. "You've been inspiring people all along, Veronica. This is just a bigger stage. You'll be amazing." Jenna helped Veronica prepare her presentation, coaching her on how to articulate her journey and the values behind her business. They spent late nights rehearsing, with Jenna playing the role of a tough audience to prepare Veronica for anything. The day of the conference arrived, and Veronica stood backstage, her hands trembling slightly. Jenna was by her side, offering words of encouragement. "You're ready for this," she said. "Just speak from your heart." When Veronica stepped onto the stage, she saw a sea of faces looking up at her expectantly. Taking a deep breath, she began sharing her story, her struggles, her determination to create a better future for her child, and the unexpected friendship that had changed her life. The audience was captivated, hanging on to her every word. By the time she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. The applause was thunderous, and Veronica felt a wave of pride and relief. Backstage, Jenna hugged her tightly. "You were incredible, Veronica. I'm so proud of you." Veronica smiled through her tears. "I couldn't have done it without you, Jenna. You've been my rock." A few weeks after the conference, Jenna and Veronica sat together at Veronica's small but cozy apartment, reflecting on how far they had come. "You know," Veronica said thoughtfully, "when we first met, I never imagined my life could change this much. You've been such a blessing, Jenna." Jenna shook her head. "You've given me just as much, Veronica. You've taught me the value of kindness and connection. I feel like a completely different person now." Their conversation was interrupted by a knock at the door. Veronica opened it to find a delivery man holding an envelope. It was from the Educational Foundation. Veronica opened the envelope with trembling hands and gasped, "Jenna, they're offering me a grant to expand my business." The grant would allow Veronica to open a small learning center, hire additional tutors, and reach even more children. Tears streamed down her face as she read the letter. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, turning to Jenna. "You've earned this, Veronica," Jenna replied, her eyes shining. "I'm just glad I could be a part of your journey." Inspired by Veronica's success, Jenna decided to make a bold move in her own life. She resigned from her high-stress corporate job to start a consulting firm dedicated to helping small businesses and nonprofits thrive. On the day Jenna launched her business, Veronica was there, cheering her on just as Jenna had done for her. The two women had come full circle, transforming not just their own lives, but also the lives of countless others. As they celebrated together, Jenna looked around at the people who had gathered to support her. For the first time, she felt a profound sense of fulfillment and belonging. "This," Jenna said, raising her glass, "is just the beginning." Veronica smiled and clinked her glass with Jenna's. "To new beginnings," she said. And with that, they embarked on the next chapter of their lives, stronger, wiser, and ready to take on whatever the future held. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more delightful stories.